Okay, people, I'm going to put this first, and then what I did today. All day, people, I was mucking around with food storage. I should have been outside because by 1 o'clock in the afternoon it warmed up, but you see, here's the issue. Amari can't move. And because Amari can't move, I'm having to make a wider path in my teeny weeny little, the equivalent of, on the main floor, a 3-bedroom rancher, which is, for some people, just as big as their garage. I've said this before. And I've been in his house for 10 years, people. I haven't sown for years and 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 years because of the yard. Whose fault is that? Obviously my fault. Because when I first moved in, I didn't see this house in terms of the yard because it was dark. And it was November, so it wasn't even on my mind. It's not like I had a lot of time to find a house, and I had already looked at like 12, 15 houses before I found this house. And when I came here, these landlords said, take it now, because if you don't, and you come back later, it might not be here. So I took it. I didn't even realize it didn't even have inside stairs, people. Until after I came in with my son and we started moving things in and we're running around the house looking for inside stairs. That's how fast I rented this house. Take it now, stay as long as you want, we'll never raise the rent. Well, they've raised the rent, but I'm still here. The only problem is I'm going around in circles, people. I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm happy to have food storage. But it's getting to be kind of obnoxious because I'm at the point now that I don't really need that much more. Hold on a minute. Jesus Christ, that was Sierra, man. What the hell? 9:30 at night, calling me from jail, asking for money. And that's all it ever is. Money, money, money. Like, fuck, I've given her like $500 in the last 3 months, 4 months, right? Because she's going in and out of jail, in and out of jail. So she doesn't get her welfare check all the time. And she's coming here every 2-3 days asking for money when she's out of jail. And now she's in jail. She said she's going to be there for another month, and she wants $20. I told her, I said, you call fucking Monday or Tuesday and talk to your sister, and she'll get the address. I'll give it to you now. I said, no, I'm not interested in, like, I'm worn out, people. I'm so worn out. You know what I mean? I'm so fucking worn out. Okay? Like, I'm having to rip my life apart. Right? Because Amari can't move. He can't walk. He has to be carried. So I'm having to clear out shit. But the thing is, at one point, I had to bring everything upstairs. Right? So it bogged up upstairs. And I've been dealing with clutter for quite a long time. And I'm trying to clear it out right now. Is more than what I should be doing. Because I have to make plans for the months down the line. And even then, you know, I don't know what Tisha's thinking when she says give everything away. Like, what the fuck? I pay like $450 approximately every month, people, in interest Thank you very much, CIBC Bank, Fraser Health Authority. Because I'm in this rut. I've been in it for a long fucking time. So, I'm happy I have food, people, but it's cumbersome because I'm moving it around right now, right? I had to clear out that playroom for Andre is more than what, because it's a spillover room, right? You know, I have a lot of toys at 60 years old. What the hell do I have all these toys for? Like toys coming out of my freaking ears. But I've got little children coming up. Little Alea May, she's running now, people. Little Alea May is running now. You know, she's walking and she's running. And so I put that carpet in the playroom so that she can sit there with her blocks. Because I gave a whole big bags full of Dupo blocks that used to be Andre's to Tisha to take, you know, to her boyfriend. So when she goes there and visits the boyfriend with the baby, they have the toys, right? As Tisha's like, oh, there's nothing in this house that I want. Nothing. But yet, one day, she went into the bedroom and raided the toys and ran out the door with 2 big garbage bags full of fucking toys. And I'm still stuck with toys. Right? I got like Thomas train tracks and all kinds of crazy shit, people. I've got the big Dupo blocks and the little Dupo blocks. I've got tons and tons and tons of Lego ever since Marcane was a little boy. And Marcane is like 27, 28 years old. I mean, I got Lego dating back 20, 30 years ago from Brooks. A big bin full of Lego. One day, Andre's going to make a Lego city. Right? It's just, this house is too small. It's always been too small. Right? And yes, some things I made it harder on myself. Right? But other things, no. Right? And it's like right now, I have to do this before it gets real cold because I'm not going to be going up and down those outside stairs with the, you know, the stairs all wet and slippery and muddy and, you know, raccoon paws and cat paws and whatever's coming in on the bottom of people's feet. Carrying down what I carried down today. I'm doing it now. I'm doing as much as I can now. I'm clearing out my kitchen, people. I'm clearing out my kitchen so I can teach Andre how to cook. Right? Those things that you see, we're going to be cooking with that stuff. I'm going to teach him how to make bread and donuts and croissants and all of that stuff. So I don't have very much counter space, but I need more counter space than what I've got right now because everything's just piled up on the fucking counters. So I'm pulling out things from my cupboards and taking some of it downstairs, right, so I can put my bowls away, right, because normally my bowls just sit up on some bucket that's sitting up by my kitchen sink. I don't want that. I want more like a normal kitchen like the good old days, right? So, I'm just so frustrated. I'm so frustrated because it's not just simply putting bowls away. It's like moving stuff out of the house so that, you know, I don't know, people. It's like that seedling room, you know. I want Andre to be able to play in that little hen house that he wants to play as a playhouse. Well, not this, well, spring, maybe next year. It has to happen next year, people. It has to, because I don't know how much longer I'm going to be able to live in this house. I can probably get away with it for a couple, 2, 3, maybe 4 years, if that. If maybe, I don't know. Tisha said, oh yeah, well, Amari will be, because I'm like, oh, how are we going to move him when he's like 6 and 7, right? Like, how do you expect me to move him by myself, right? You know? From the living room to the bedroom. Oh, well, you're going to need a hoist. Yeah, well, you know, those hoists, they hook them up to the walls, to the ceilings, people. And they put the person in a hammock, and then the hoist pulls up the hammock. That's what they did with Uncle John when they took Uncle John from that care facility. Oh, God, I so wish I was not such a nice person. I should have been a fucking bitch that day and just barged in and looked at him laying in that hammock and had a freaking fit. But because when I walked into his room, there was this crowd of people around Uncle John's bed, and all I seen was the hammock on a hoist, and with some old hag, Eleanor the hag, saying, "What are you doing? Oh, you're being rude." Because I'm saying, where's John? I expected to see John sitting in his wheelchair when I walked in. I didn't expect to see a bunch of people around his bed with some freaking hammock, you know, hanging there. And because she said I was being rude, and there was so many of them, and I had Andre with me, I didn't want to cause a scene. So I went down to the doctor's and nurse's station, and I asked, "Where's the doctor? Where's John?" And the doctor said, "I don't know." And I said, "Well, where's John?" And the doctor said, "Well, who released John?" Oh, man, I just left, people. They wanted me to talk to that funky fucking social worker, right, that caused all that trouble for Uncle John. And I just couldn't do it, people, so I left. But I so wish I just would have walked right up to that bed and caught those people right in the act. Because that was John in that hammock, being hoisted up out of the bed because they drugged him before they put him on the fucking ferry. And that's why they took him to the emergency room the minute they got off the ferry, because he was freaking out. And they kept him doped up. And then when the kids finally got to see him for that 30 minutes before security was called on them, right, by Eleanor, right, he said it was all weird when he woke up. Weird when he woke up. Yeah, I wonder why. So anyway, Amari is going to have to be hoisted around at some point, more than likely, with a mechanical hammock. That's not going to happen in this house, people. It's too small. Even if I was to clear out everything in the fucking hall, clear out everything in the fucking kitchen, I'd have to empty my whole house in order to be able to move Amari around. Whether it's in a wheelchair, whether it's in freaking hammocks, motorized hammocks, doesn't matter. And of course, I'm trying to be brave. I'm trying to be brave here, people. Right? So that's what I'm doing. I'm clearing out more to accommodate these children that I have, even though mine are all grown up and on their own, pretty much, right? I have to make sure Andre has his play space, that ShaMay can have a play space, right? And I need to make sure that Amari has his space. And since all my money goes to freaking rent, hydro, gas, and bills, there's really nothing left, so I'm glad I have food storage. But I have to rearrange the food storage, right, in order to make more space. Right? It's just stupid. It's stupid. I don't know what's going to happen to my life, people. I really don't. I have no clue. I mean, I'm taking it in stride. Right? I'm past the halfway mark in terms of up here. The kitchen is still congested, but I have to get into my other food storage area in the basement. And Tisha has to help me move the sewing desks. I have 2 sewing desks in that area that have that big bin of Lego on top, right? Wait till Andre sees that. Yeah. And once I move those out of there, that opens up a little more room, and then I can get in back into my old original food storage. And I want to, this is what I'm thinking in my head right now. This is what I'm working on. I've been working on it, right? Since I've had ShaMay's room now, right? It's like my personalized grocery store. That's the way I'm justifying it. I'm like, well, you don't have to go to the grocery store. You just have to go downstairs and pick what you want for the day, or pick what you want for the week, or whatever it is, right? You know what I'm saying? So, nothing wrong with that, right? And I'm trying to make it where it's more easily accessible versus being buried the way you'll see in this video. I buried them here, buried them there, buried them over there, because initially a lot of that stuff when I bought it or made it, it was for, you know, food prep storage, right? In the event of an emergency. But some of this stuff needs to be moved along, whether it's going into the compost pile or whether we're eating it. And the only way that's going to happen is if I can get to it more easily. And now that Andre plays in that room more, you know, I had to close the window, so it's getting warmer in there versus cooler in there. And, you know, that's not good for food storage, right? You want it more cool than warm. So, yeah, I'm just like, oh, man, you don't know how frustrated I am with this whole situation right now. And, like, every day I'm doing intensive labor. I was up and down the stairs with 2 buckets in hand, walking those jars down the stairs, right? And, you know, I'm having to go at some point and backtrack into my other food storage areas where I have canning, home canning, and pull everything out and put paper underneath everything just to be vigilant, I guess you could say. Vigilant, right, to anything that, you know, might be suspicious when it comes to a jar popping. So, but I'm having a really hard time, people. Such a hard time. Here's the thing. I raised 5 kids, okay? I've always been a poor woman, and I wouldn't say I cherish things, but I look after things. I don't take things for granted. If I sweep the floor and I have a big pile of dust and whatever, before I take a dustpan and sweep it up and throw it into the garbage, I'll go through that pile and I'll take out the little Lego, you know, it could be a very small little piece of Lego, you know, I'll take out the pencils, whatever it is, because, you know, things cost money. And, you know, I always figured I'd have grandchildren, so, you know, the toys, okay, like, when I got Andre, obviously toys, I mean, the toys were here before he was taken because we had already bought him toys. But once he came back to me, a lot of those toys came upstairs and just became part of the environment. A lot of toys were given away because Andre had a lot of trucks and stuff like that. And, you know, the Lego, well, that's just something I've kept over the years, and now I've got lots and lots of Lego, which Andre likes to play with Lego, so that's not a problem. But, you know, I'm hanging on to the Thomas tracks and those kind of things because they're, one, expensive. If Amari could actually play with those things, it would be ideal because, you know, he's going to be coming into that age where he'd want to play with Thomas tracks, but he can't because he would never be able to put them together. But ShaMay can, right? So why would I give them away, people? I don't. I hang on to them, right? Whether she plays with them here or whether Tisha takes them and lets her play with them someplace else. remains to be seen. Or maybe I'll take them downstairs and she can play with them downstairs, but then Marcane wants more of the living room. He doesn't want toys in there. Do you see? Marcane doesn't want toys in the living room. He wants it, he's got in his head what he wants, and Tisha's got in her head what she wants, and meantime, I'm sitting on $400 worth of Thomas tracks that I'm not going to give away because I have grandchildren that will play with them. So, it takes up space, right? Especially in a small place. That's just an example. Like, I'm going to have to go through those toys with Andre, and we're going to have to figure out what we're going to do with them because there's still too many toys in that room. I'm trying to open it up, right? Andre likes to scatter things all over the place, so I don't know. We'll see. I've got toys outside in the shed in the box. Tracks. Because he had a lot of train tracks and stuff, right? And in another year or so, 2 years, Alea May is going to want to play with the train track. Why? Just because she's a girl doesn't mean she doesn't want a train track, right? It'll be fun, and then Andre can put it together for her, and they can play together, right? So anyway, I'm just having a really hard time clearing out my house. Like I said, I feel like I'm being forced out of, I feel like I'm being forced out of my house in terms of, because I'm clearing it out. I'm having to, I did park events, I bought things to do park events, right? I have musical instruments, I have got craft supplies to do things with kids, hung on to them over the years. The X Club has got things in there to do things with kids, right? It's just stupid, people. Obviously, lots of fabric and never had a chance to sew, so I don't know. And, Tisha, right? Or even Marcane, they just expect me to throw it out. Throw it out. And pay $450 a month in interest as I'm being extorted. Because they drugged John, put him in a hammock, put him on the bowels of a ferry, took him across the water, and then rushed him to an emergency and said, "Look how we found him." That's what that niece said. We took him to the emergency room because he had pneumonia. He was only in the hospital for 49 days. Why the fuck are they taking him on a ferry with pneumonia after being in the hospital for 49 days and saying that's how they found him? Because they were blaming me for it, people, because they had to cover their fucking tracks. Right? And I got left holding the bag. As those kind of people that do that kind of stuff, right? In terms of doping people up, putting them in hammocks, putting them in the bottom of a ferry, shipping them across the water, rushing them to emergency rooms, stealing their money, all this other shit, right? Those kind of people. That's not the only thing that they do to hurt families. And Mari is another example, people. Right? That's why I'm doing this now. Because, he's the one that's going to be in the hammock. He's the one who needs the hammock. But before he gets into a hammock, I got to make sure I can navigate from the living room to the bedroom. At least for a while. So, that's what I'm doing. I'm going in circles right now. I'm just going in circles. So I didn't really do anything other than food stores today. So that's all I'm saying. Okay, people. So now it's November 2nd. Do you see all this stuff? It is food storage that I am taking downstairs into Auntie ShaMay's room so I can make some room up here, because in the next few months, people, I want to teach, well, start teaching Andre and Uncle Mercaine. I'm going to ask him to help because Uncle Mercaine likes to cook. Alright? Just things that I bought over the years in my travels, people. Right? Oh. It's taking up space up here. Right? Sounds good, doesn't it? Don't you think? I think so. I got more in that cupboard. I want to get up into that cupboard. So anyway, this is what I'm working on right now. I am making room. Those things are going to go downstairs into Auntie ShaMay's room, and then once things are more organized, right, then I'm going to, what do you call it? Start teaching Andre how to cook, because he wants to be a chef now. I don't encourage him to be a police officer. I tell him the police force is too corrupt, and that if you're a good police officer, it will be hard for you to do your job. And maybe you don't need that kind of stress, Andre. I wanted to point this out. Do you see how green that is? With purple. These are kale stems from 2015, people. I mean, look at that. That's like really green with the purple on the stems. And then look at this one. Green kale. I don't know if you can see how green that is. Like, it's as green as it was when I first put it in the jar. Serious. Those won't go down. Leave myself a little batch here. I have this wax bean green baby food that I just Googled. Can cats eat green beans? Because Amari won't eat it. Wax beans. Well, beans are beans, right? So, I've got some chicken gizzards and that kind of stuff to make cat food one day. So, one day I'll make cat food with Andre and we'll throw that into the cat food. Right? I'm just trying to make it easy. I gotta get up back into cooking. Hold on. So, when I'm talking about moving things, I'm talking about stuff like this. I already had one go this way, right? And I had whatever and stuff underneath it. I have to clear this all out, people, for Amari as he gets older. We can still carry him through. It's not a problem right now, but it will be within 6 months to a year, right? So, you know, I'm having to move all this stuff. What's in here smells good. Whatever's in there smells good. You know, I don't know how much of it's going to go down, but ultimately, there's some cheese whiz, I'll bring that out. You know, ultimately, sorry, wandering eye, I have to get this out of here. What's this? This looks good. Ooh, turnips. I wonder what it smells like. When was this? 2015, dehydrated food. Perfectly fine. It's like that kale. Okay. So now I'm in the other food storage. I'm trying to rearrange my life here, people, in terms of organizing it. Right? Because I'm having to empty out cupboards and shit and refill cupboards and coffee. I didn't know I had coffee. What I'm coming in here for right now is the honey, because honey is good long-term storage. So any honeys, you can see I've got honeys in here. I'm going to take them out and I'm going to put them in the back of this little cupboard that I'm working in right now. Right? You can see what's going on in here, people. There's honey. See, I got honey all over the place. Hold on. Okay. I have to do this, people. I have to move things around. My son will like this. I'm going to give him one. I just bought that a long... This is Jamaican spice. I have 3 of those. Anyway, I just wanted to point out, don't ever think I don't have clothes to wear, people. You know, you always see me dressed in rags. Right? But I have a lot of beautiful clothes. Like, I really, really do. I just never get a chance to wear them. And my jackets are hanging up over there. My girls were supposed to get some of my stuff. Tisha will be rich in clothes when I go. Huh? Serious, man. Okay. So I guess today is a food storage day. So anyway, I'm supposed to be doing paperwork, but I have to clear out I have to clear out my house, people. So anyway, you can see what's in there. I just want to point out that cocoa is a food like honey that can last forever. Okay? So that is something that you do want to stock up on. And because it's expensive, you know, you buy it every now and then in between your shopping, right? And then after a while, what happens is it starts to pile up. What I'm doing here, people, is I'm taking out old food storage in here for the most part. And then I'm going to get into my other cupboard where I have my apple juices that I make. You've seen me do that. And I'm going to put some in there. And then what it will do, it will freeze up my cupboard over there, right? Because when you do food storage over a period of basically 10 years, what happens is it starts to pile up in all these different spots throughout your house. And, you know, like, it becomes kind of like a problem because now you have too much, right? But too much is better than not enough. So hold on. Okay, so you can see what's happening in here. And everything's nice and cold, people. It's nice and cool in this room. Like, seriously. So, obviously, taking down stuff from upstairs. This is old. Now, if it's no good when I open it, which it's never been opened, so it should be fine. I mean, I have compost box, people. So, you know, compost loves stuff like that. Right? So, I'm not too worried about it. What I'm doing is I'm just organizing to see where I'm at with things. So, hold on. Oh, yeah. Look at Auntie ShaMay's room now. There's my son's box spring. This I keep for Amari, right? Because of his situation. We might need foam one day. I mean, obviously, we're not sewing because I'm bringing down craft materials. I brought down non-profit stuff, right? This is a suitcase full of the books from back in the day and just the whole 9 yards. This is magazines that, you know, you don't want to throw out. I don't know what I'm going to do with them, but some of them are Time magazines. So maybe I'll put them online for, you know, a few dollars. Who knows? Hold on. Okay, so now I'm in Uncle John's room, a.k.a. Andre's playroom. That's where the bins came from the crafts, right? I took them out of here. But if you notice, for almost 60 years old, I have a lot of toys, people. Like I have a lot of toys. It's all toys in here. That's what it is. This is drums that when I used to do park events and that type of thing, right? But now what I need to do is get up into this corner. So hold on, I'll show you. Okay, so this is that little cubby. I like this one, people. These jars are really nice and cold. There's the north wall. Right, close to the floor, away from vents. You insulate it. And everything stays perfectly fine. Perfectly fine. These are pears from 2015. Still good. So that's why I wanted to get up into this cupboard. Right, because I want to get up into these pears. I'm hoping next year there will be a few more, even if I have to buy them. Now, I don't know. There was something I wanted in here. I don't know if I can get it. I'm just going through everything here, people. Hold on a minute. Can you see? Hold on a minute. Okay, before I go too far, I want to show you something. Do you see that? That looks like maybe that jar right there, something happened. Okay, maybe that one popped. But if you look at these pears, they're looking pretty good. Right. So, I want to get up in there. Hold on. Okay. Now, I am not going to hide this from you, although you can't see it now, because it looks like it's drying up on me. Alright. What I'm trying to get to is that thing in the back. Now, I'm going to end up... Oh, I'm going to just put this here, people. I want to talk to you for a minute. Okay, this is important if you're doing food storage. You have to be vigilant on things. And oftentimes things is trial and error, okay? Now, food in a jar can last for 20 years, providing that the jar doesn't pop, right? And that you use the correct canning procedure, okay? Some things are more at risk than other things. Like, for example, if you're canning with vinegars, right, the vinegar preserves the food, right? So even if the jar was to pop, the chances of it being contaminated are pretty slim because the vinegar kills off the bacteria growth. That's why you can have vinegar in a container for years and years and years and never really have it go bad, and you can still use it. You know, you have a little vinegar up in your cupboard or whatever it is, right? So, same thing with sugar. Now, what I'm finding over the years, okay, is every now and then it looks like a jar has popped on me and then resealed itself for whatever reason, right? When you can, this is a canning video, I guess, people. Make sure that when you put your food away that you don't have your screw lids on. You take them off, because in theory, if the jar should pop while it's in long-term storage, you should get that bump, right? And you would know. Plus, you'll get leakage coming out oftentimes, depending on what it is. If you can with meat, right, they recommend that you take the meat out, because what meat tends to do, I'm just looking for a jar right here. This is applesauce. What meat tends to do with the fat in it is it crawls. It crawls to the top, and it puts your jar more at risk to pop. Right? Now, this probably came out of the canner like this, because I think I maybe did these ones in a pressure canner. I don't know. Okay, I'm just showing you that if this was meat and you had a fair amount of fat in it, you're going to find that it's going to crawl. And as it crawls, it's more at risk to pop the lid. It doesn't necessarily pop the lid, but it's more at risk. And if it pops, everything on the inside will change. You'll see it. I've already done a video on that. But being that I've gotten into this little cubby and I started moving out my jars, I don't know, there was something damp underneath in that corner, as if to suggest something popped, came out, leaked, and then resealed itself. This is pickled beets, right? Now, I touched it. I'm thinking it was a raspberry. You can even see it at the bottom. Now, I put these jars in 2018 in there, and they're cold, people. But I've been starting to use heat, and don't forget, there was heat going on last year. But the thing is, this is new, because I came in here just recently and been moving things around, because eventually I want to clear these out of here and make this little cubby for, craft bins or whatever. But for now, So what I'm trying to say is, when you store your jars, hold on a minute. You know what? I just sat here and talked to myself, people. It wasn't even recording. Okay. What I was saying, in the event that I didn't record it. Okay. I went into this cubby to specifically get this. Because now that I've got Auntie ShaMay's room and I'm going through food storage, I'm trying to put things that are like each other together. So I know what I have and we know where they're at. So I had to go in there and grab this one out from way in the corner of this little cubby that's been here for years. It's close to the floor, close to the wall, north wall, far enough away, technically, from the furnace vent that it normally stays really, really cold. Now, I've been in here rattling around for the last month because I'm clearing out stuff, right? Tisha and I, we just took down a bunch of bins that are full of crafts to open up this room for Andre. So anyway, I get into this cubby, I'm pulling out jars, and as I pull out a jar, I'm noticing that at the bottom of the jar is a ring of liquid, okay, that tells me something popped. But whatever popped also resealed itself. Because why otherwise would there be a ring of liquid, not a lot, just a little bit, underneath in that one particular corner on the floor? That's the only place it could have came from. So, I stressed that with a vinegar, if it was the beets, because I have pickled beets here, okay? If it was a vinegar jar that popped and resealed itself, okay, it wouldn't be that bad because the vinegar preserves the food. It's like having vinegar on your counter for years in the same bottle and it's still fine. Okay? So just keep that in mind. If it was a raspberry from 2018, which I'm thinking it was, because I touched it, right? And it felt syrupy. Okay? It didn't feel like a vinegar liquid. It felt like a sugar liquid. It glistened on my finger. And I don't know, it felt kind of oily, which would make it more sugary, right? Vinegar gets rid of oil. Sugar creates like a film, like an oil, right? Only thing is, I don't know what jar it is, people, because whatever happened, it resealed itself. So these particular raspberry, fruit from 2018 may just go into the compost to be safe. So, when you store your jars, okay, here's a trick, okay? And I'm going to use this trick. When you store your jars, before you put them into food storage, this is what I was saying before I thought I was recording when I wasn't. I have seen people, and this is what I'm going to start doing, versus just coming along and taking a rag and wiping your jar and then putting it away. I'm actually going to take the time, people. What is this? This is grape juice. This is that red grape juice from 2018 from those red grapes that were given to me. Purple grapes or whatever they were. I'm going to take this out. So anyway, take your jar and go to your kitchen sink and run your water and, make a cool, lukewarm, soapy water and wash your jar that way. And then run it under the clean water cool, right? And let it just air dry. Because sometimes what happens is you'll wipe your jar thinking you've got everything off your jar. And you'll come back later and you'll touch your jars. And because of just the oxidization in the air, if you left something behind, it's going to be on the jar, right? And you're going to be like, ooh, what is that? So just to cut back on any speculation in terms of if something opens, right? I want to show you here. If something opens, you're going to have a easier time to locate it. Okay. Because if you notice on the rim of this jar, I don't know if you can even see that. I can see it. Dark in here. Do you see? Right up in here. Right? It looks like I missed wiping it. Okay? Where if I would have ran it under water and gave it a good wash, right, it wouldn't be like that. And then I was making mention that when you do meat, oils, they tend to crawl, right? Anytime you do any kind of a meat, you know, chicken, beef, that type of thing, the oils will crawl. So, you know, if the jar pops and reseals itself, regardless of what it is, what you want to use, put this, after you get your jars all rearranged into your cupboards, and they're all nice and clean, with no rims on them, just your, you know, your lids that you used with the canning. As a fail-safe to locate a jar that may have popped and then resealed itself for whatever reason, right? If you put that on top, chances are you're going to get something on the paper to show you where that jar is located. Because outside of that, something did something in there. I'm pretty sure it was a raspberry jar. Because, what do you call it? It just felt sugary. You can see it at the bottom of this jar. I don't know. Do you see that? Sugar crystallizes. It looks a little red. It's suspicious. There should be nothing in there. Do you see that? Now, you get spiders coming along and doing what spiders do, and they will leave their remnants of things behind. So, you know, don't let spiders deter you from doing this. Don't let the fear of a jar popping to deter you from doing this. All you do is you find a method that is a little more fail-safe. And that's what I'm trying to tell you. After you organize your jars, you put this on top. And that should help to figure out what happened if something happens. And then if you do stack your jars, they don't really recommend it, but you can. Do you see? So if this one pops, you're going to get a little something. If the one below pops, you should get a ring of something. You would know, right? Okay, so I don't know, people. I need to, I don't know. Well, obviously I'm going to wipe that down. Hold on a minute. Let's see what color we get. Hold on. Okay, so here's another issue that I'm having here, people. I'm just having to rearrange my life in general. Because Andre is kind of like, you know, he's been playing, he hasn't been playing in his room for the last 3 or 4 weeks or whatever it's been, because we were moving beds around and stuff, right? And there's, you know, the house only has so much room, right? But prior to that, and even now, I completely forgot that window is closed. So in other words, this room is not as cold as it used to be. And because it's getting cold now, the heat is running all the time, right? And yes, the jars are cold. If I go in here and I grab a jar, it's really, really cold. Okay, this, whatever happened, just happened recently, okay? Because otherwise I would not have seen it, right? Well, I would have maybe seen something, but not actually be able to touch it, and it be, you know, right? So, wet, right? With a little ring underneath, right? I don't think it was a spider. Right? Not in this case. So I think what I'm going to have to do here, being that this room is more warm now, I think the safest and the best thing for me to do, and I was thinking of doing this anyway, people, and letting Andre have this little cubby for his shoes and that kind of stuff, you know, maybe hats and gloves and just some little cubby, right? For, you know, that type of thing, right? Because there's already shelving in there. Or maybe I'll put these bins in there, you know, school craft bins, whatever. Maybe, I don't know. All I know is now that I've came across this, I should probably take some of this downstairs. I don't have to do it all in one day, but I don't think taking these jars that I have right here that I've taken out from that one particular corner is a good idea to put it back and then forget about it, because that's kind of what happens with food storage, especially when you get into a lot of it. You have a cubby over there, you know, next year raspberries come. I didn't can raspberries this year, but these raspberries are so good, people, that I would can these raspberries again. I'm canning raspberries again, and I'm definitely wanting to do pears. Now, for something like this, because it's preserved in, you know, a sugar, right? And you can feel on the outside of the jar, like right in here, maybe not up in here, but definitely up in here, either I didn't wash the jar very good, or it popped, it leaked. I know you can't see it. Well, there you go. You can kind of see it now. And then, for whatever reason, it resealed itself. In the old days, they used to take, make jam and that type of thing, right? And they would use paraffin wax to seal the jar. And even if air got in and there was a bit of mold on the jar, on the jam itself, after you took off the wax, you could scoop off an inch, like cheese, of that mold and then get into the jam and actually eat it. Right? If this jar was sealed with paraffin wax and for some reason something got in and you took off the wax and you seen a little whatever there, you could take a spoon, scoop out that much, and rest of it would be fine because it's preserved in sugar. That's in the old days, people. That's what they did because they couldn't afford to lose food. I can afford to put a couple into the compost. Or, with this little batch in here, like specifically this jar, because I'm feeling something here, because I'm trying to determine where this came from. It's in a syrup, it's in sugar, so it should be fine. But I think before I would give it to my family open and then just eat it, I think maybe the better thing would be is to boil it. You could boil it and make it into a sauce. And then if it had any bacteria for whatever reason, because you don't know if it was this jar that produced this problem, or maybe if it was this jar that produced this problem. I mean, they look sealed. Nothing's coming out. So where did this problem come from? Where did it come from? And it's not like I'm in the mood right now to be going off to the compost and opening up 15, well, not 15 jars, but, maybe 8, 7, 5, 6 jars and just dumping them into the compost. I could do that for what it's worth. It's just that one corner in there. But if I would have had paper on top of it, there would have been a higher probability of locating the jar that's the suspect jar. Right? So I'm kind of in a dilemma here. I don't know what to do. Right? Do you see what's going on here? Hold on. Like, those are all fine. It was just right up in that little corner, right in there. Right? And of course I mixed everything up now. See, those back there are fine, whatever they are. There's nothing there. That looks like, I don't know what that is. See, this is what I mean. It's time to take these out. They're nice and cold, because these are further back. This is 2017 raspberry jam. Like, these jars are nice and clean, perfectly fine. But from now on, based on how oxidization and things tend to cling on to jars, right? I'm going to run my jars under tap water and make sure they're nice and clean, because I think some of this stuff that I'm seeing on these apple rims is, you're wiping down the jar thinking you got everything and you missed a little bit, right? But I'm thinking one of these jars popped. I'm thinking this is the suspect one. Because if you notice, oops, oh God, everything's so dark. It was climbing. And you can see, where is it? You can see it right there. Now I either missed it when I put it away, which I don't think I did, or it popped and resealed itself. So this one here is definitely a suspect jar. Right? Anyway, a 2-hour video on jars. Okay, so, I don't know. Those are my suspect jars. Right? So anyway, I took out all the blackberry jams that were in there, jellies, whatever, and raspberry, right, that I made a couple of years ago, okay? And I took out everything from the bottom. You can see that. I'm taking it all downstairs. These ones, I'm not too sure what I'm going to do yet. I have to think about it. I'm thinking that this one is probably the suspect jar. I'm looking at the bottom of the rims. I think it's that one or it's this one. It's one of these ones. Like I said, I touched it, people, and it was like a syrup. It wasn't crisp like a vinegar. And actually, I never smelt anything either. Now that I'm thinking about it, So I'm suspecting it was one of these raspberry jars that maybe, I don't know, like, So anyway, keeping that in mind, what we're going to start doing now, just for the sake of doing it, we're just going to put paper, like, I'm sorry, wandering eye. Oh, jeez. It's not like I got a lot of room in here. Just take your paper and just cover it. So if something should pop and reseal itself, I would think that it might leave a little stain. Because it will definitely stain on the bottom. Now I want to show you this before I leave this room, and I'll take you back downstairs. But, it's just there's not a lot of light in this corner here. Okay, this is some ginger that I did in 2015, right? Now, there is nothing on this jar, absolutely nothing. But on this jar, I don't know if you can see that. So what does that mean? Right? What does that mean? Does that mean that this jar opened up too and then sealed itself? Or is it that maybe I'm not washing my jars good enough and that over time oxidization will do that, right? I don't think it's spider remnants, but, you know, spiders do get into this stuff and they do catch moths and do what spiders do. Oh, I lost my flashlight. Where did I lose it to, people? Anyway, hold on. Okay, so I don't got a lot of battery on here, so I'm getting sneaky. I'm taking my paper and I'm putting it on the bottom of the jars, as well as when I'm done the jars, I'll put one on top. Okay, this battery is going to be low here in a minute, so hold on. Okay, so I'm going to end it here because I'm going to be doing this for a while anyway. I'll probably end up emptying out this shelf and then bring those other jars down here because, like I said, I'm clearing out that room in there with the food with where Andre's playing, right? Because with him wanting to be in there, you know, I have to have more heat and just the whole 9 yards. So if you're going to do anything like this, I highly recommend maybe just getting into the habit of doing paper in between your jars. Okay, you can see, you can double them up, providing that you've got light ones on top. That's the way I do it, right? I don't put heavy on heavy. I do heavy on the bottom with something maybe light on top. And in light of what I came across today, I'm going to start using paper. So at some point, I'm going to be going up in here, taking everything out, redoing it, right? And then after this is all figured out and sorted out, then I'm going to come in here and I'm going to, what do you call it? I'm going to, I'll be covering it with a blanket, and then what happens is it insulates it and it gets even colder in here. And that's what you want, people. Right? Okay. So anyway, that little cubby in there is all cleared out now. I'm putting other things in there. Right? I took everything down. It wasn't the beets, people. It was not the beets.
Yeah?
Yeah, okay. It was not the beets that,
Cool.
You like that better, eh? Yeah, I put a carpet down, so.
Okay,
I just have to do the edging here. I have to get a glue gun or something at some point. Or do by hand, maybe get some fabric and then just stitch it on so it doesn't run, right? But that's another day, people. I don't have time for that right now. I put this down just because I'm warming up this room, right? You know, when nobody was in it, I left the window open all the time. Andre doesn't like it. So anyway, that one jar that did whatever that one jar did, it wasn't beets, because if it was beets, when I wiped the floor, it would have came out red. You would have seen it. And like I said, when I felt it, it felt like, it was like syrupy, right? It was more more oily than syrupy, but you know, it was thick, right? Versus a vinegar. So those jars, there's 3 of them there with the raspberries. I don't know which one did what. You know, I'm not going to chance it. I'm just going to take them and put them into the compost, and you know, anything else that I think might be suspicious. There might be one pear jar, but you know, these when you get spiders and stuff, sometimes they, you know, and just the air collects. And so from now on, when I'm washing my jars, I'm taking them all and I'm running them. You know, I'm going to do them in the sink and make sure, you know, take a toothbrush and get along the edge where the screw cap is, right? You see? You know, get that rim, maybe rinse it off really good, let it air dry, and then put your jars away. And when you put your jars, put them on white paper, and if you're going to stack, you know, try and put in between your stack, or at least put white paper underneath them. So, Andre's Walnut Art Craft, Andre's Walnut Art Craft, Andre's Walnut Art Craft. There's some paint. We're going to get up and we're going to start painting this. I actually did cut in some carpet. I don't know, right? You can see I put a little bit of carpet in here. I have some blue, so we'll put blue carpet here, right? And we'll put blue carpet up there. I've got some tile, stick-on tile, so I'll, right? And then we're going to paint. So hold on.